Enjoying Black Tech Green Money? It will mean a lot if you rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Google Play. The way the algorithm works, the more you rate and say nice things, they'll introduce Black Tech Green Money to more people. And more of us need this content. So thank you for rating this podcast 5 stars today. Afrotech 2017, San Francisco, California. Tech investor and platinum/Grammy award-winning rapper Chamillionaire is on the Afrotech stage talking about how he found his way into the world of investing in tech startups. A little known fact is Mr. Riding Dirty was an investor early in his tech career in a company called Maker Studio, which would later be sold to Disney for a reported $675 million. On the Afrotech stage, he stresses the hunger for knowledge and the power of relationships that's required to be successful at scale.
What I did was I focused on the information and the relationships, because if I asked everybody in this room, think about the last person that you bumped into that probably could have helped you. Did you follow up with that person on email? Did you reach out to that person? Did you stay in touch with that person? Think about how many people in the room next to you could possibly help you on your journey to be something great. Right now, sitting next to you, you have no idea this person sitting next to you. We take that for granted. We do not value relationships and information like we should. The whole time I was on a path to consume information as much as possible. Somebody said, well, what about these other people that have more advantages than us? Yeah, that's true. They do have more advantages than us, but information is right under your nose, right? I used to get frustrated in school. I went to U of H, and you had this routine where you would go in there and you would, learn during this period, and then you'd have to come back the next day. I was like, give it to me now. I need it now. Because they were here 10 years in front of us, and I'm showing up in this tech world and seeing all these people already with all these advantages, already with all this equity, and I'm late to the party. And I'm like, I need that now. I need it all right now for me.
I'm Will Lucas, and this is Black Tech Green Money. I'm going to introduce you to some of the biggest names, some of the brightest minds, and brilliant ideas. If you're black in building or simply using tech to secure your bag, this podcast is for you. Trell Thomas is the founder of Black Excellence Brunch, an annual event that gives Black excellence a seat at the table. His work spans from career beginnings on the historic Obama presidential campaign in 2008 to overseeing talent relations and communication with some of the biggest brands at Viacom to perfectly align socially good causes, corporations, and celebrities. Many people work to produce events, so I asked Trell, how has he been able to get corporate buy-in to authentic events for the culture? What is it he understands about how to decipher corporate objectives to securing their participation?
My secret is actually no secret at all. It's just authenticity. I go in there as myself. And that's the biggest thing I think, or the biggest mistake a lot of people make is they say, well, what does the brand want? What do they want? Who do they want me to be? And so they're shape shifting and code switching and changing all these things about themselves. But the thing about it is, an idea that's yours, something that's yours, it is of you. You know what I mean? It is you being your authentic. Like the Black Excellence Brunch came from my experience as a Black person growing up in South Carolina, and my mom hosting these Sunday dinners at my house, at her house, at our house, right? And I, and that's my truth, and I created that from the essence of who I am. So at no point when I go to these brands am I trying to be something else or sell something else. I'm going in, I'm giving them that same essence. And I feel like that's the thing that makes people buy into it. I'll never forget, the first brunch that I had a big corporate sponsor, or a corporate sponsor in general, which was Netflix. It happened so organically. I was sitting at dinner with some friends of mine, and I was going to do the brunch anyway. You know what I mean? And I was saying, hey guys, I want you to come to this thing. I want you to do this thing with me. And they were like, oh, this seems really cool. I remember you did this in New York and you did that when you came here. So this is kind of the next step of that. And I was like, yeah, it's the next step. I'm growing it. And they said, well, what do you the general question, well, what do you want to do? where do you see it going? And I said, you know what would be great? And I had been watching Netflix. They had just launched Strong Black Lead. And I remember thinking, this is so incredible. Like what they're doing, the intentionality behind it, the authenticity that I felt from it. And I said, you know what would be great? To partner with Netflix and to do something with Strong Black Lead, because I feel like they're highlighting Strong Black Lead Strong Black Leads in TV and film, and I'm doing it in real life. And so this is a great collaboration. Do you know the divinity of it all? The girl that was sitting right next to me, Jasmine, who is amazing and works at Netflix, she was sitting there and she said, hey, I'm Jasmine and I run Strong Black Lead at Netflix. And I'm just like, wow. But I said that to say that for me, it was just authentic. It wasn't me trying to like sell a thing or do, it was just me authentically being myself and speaking from that place. And that, I believe, attracts what you need. And so when I go to these brands and I have these conversations, I'm strategic, right? I think about who's the right person to contact at the brand or, that sort of thing. So if there's any massaging, it's thinking about those things. But when I get to have the conversation like we're having now, I am 100% myself. And also, Will, I'm not afraid to walk away from something that doesn't align. And that's another mistake I think that people make, is that they give off this air of desperation, which nobody really wants to be attached to something that's desperate, right? We all want to feel like, you kind of don't need us, and I think, but for me, it ain't pretending. Like it's the truth of the matter is, whether I had brands involved with this or not, I was going to do it, and that's the same energy I take into those meetings. Keep that same energy, right? And I keep that same energy when I go into those meetings. It's just like, okay, this can happen with you, and I love that, but guess what? It's going to happen with or without you. And if it doesn't align, then I walk away and I say, hey, guys, this is why should people get so used to brands or companies or corporations telling them this isn't a good fit for us right now? Well, sometimes it's not a good fit for me.
That's
like,
right.
This isn't a good fit for me right now, and this, And so I just know my worth when I walk into those meetings as well.
So let's back up a little bit, because it sounds like if that was the extent I knew of your story, it sounds like you just walk in, say, hey, I'm Trell, like you were somebody to get the meeting. And so let's talk about who you are, because I want to make sure, it's Black Tech Green Money. I want to make sure people have the keys to getting in that room in order to show their authenticity. So what is it that you've done historically that gets you the meeting in the first place, that puts you in a room next to the lady who runs Strong Black Lead?
Yeah. Great question, and thank you for that compliment. You are the crown king of the smooth compliment. No, man, honestly, it is work ethic, and one thing that I'm really good at, and I acknowledge, is that I'm great at branding and marketing. I'm great at seeing something and then aligning the pieces so that it really comes to life. So, I've done, and I'm an advocate of knowing how everything runs. Have you ever heard when people tell the story of like, if you want to be the CEO of a company, you need to know everything from what the janitor does to, the high. But I am an advocate of understanding all of the moving pieces. And so, I get to a point where I can do events because I've done PR, I've done marketing, I've set up tables for events. I helped launch a event series called Musically Mastered Menu, which I think gave me the best insight. It was at VH1 Safe Music, which is a nonprofit that's a part of Viacom, that gives music education to schools and kids all across the country. And one thing that I was kind of in charge of is helping bring in funds for the organization. And I love being creative. And so I said, well, we got together and we were like, well, what if we do this dinner series? And so we called it Musically Master Menu. And what we did was we paired a chef with a musician, and the chef curated a menu based off a song or an album, and then we would have the artist perform at the event. And it was this dinner, and we raised lots of money, etc. But it was moments like that that I learned all of these skills that were necessary to do what I do now. And so I think, to answer your question, it's playing the different positions and and really learning as much as I could, and putting all these tools. One of my mentors always tells me about putting tools in your toolbox. And then once you get to a certain place, you can go back and you're like, oh, I can use that hammer for this.
Right, that's right.
Use the wrench for this. And so I was constantly along my career, from, working at news stations where now I can interview people, right, which I do at these events, to, doing PR and publicity, which now I know how to contact the publicist and what to say to get, the talent to my events, to, actually putting on the events, setting the tables, knowing how things go, to, having to pitch different brands and bring in corporate sponsors to donate to the foundation that I was working for. So it was all those tools that now I can go back in and pull out. But along with the tools came contacts. Your network work is your network. It really, really is. So, lots of people that I've met along the way, while I was building along my journey, I can reach back out to those people. And if they're not the person, they can say, hey, I'm not the person, but this is the person.
That's right. I'm so glad you said that, because this business is about relationships, right? And I remember listening to this Issa Rae quote where I'm going to paraphrase it, but she talked about people are always trying to like get with the Issa Raes or get with the Denzels or get with the big dog, when it's actually the people next to you that you should be in the trenches with, and you build it together like she did with her friends. But to your point, alongside that is, how do you build purposeful relationships where, yes, we're all homies, we all good, but we produce value for each other also?
Yeah. So I think the way to do that, again, it's like, I always talk to people about being transactional versus being purposeful. And so for me, I don't focus on what I can get from somebody. I'm always thinking about, okay, what can I bring to the table? What can I add? How can I add value? What am I leaving here, as opposed to like, what am I getting? Or just saying, hey, this is an A to B thing. It's like, well, let's really connect. Let's have a genuine connection. Let's really build with one another. And as a result, people will bring things to me. I've gotten to the point now, I was having this conversation the other day, where things literally, I'm attracting opportunities, I'm attracting things to me, I'm attracting people, I'm attracting relationships. And it's because I put out that energy of, like, I want to get to know Will for Will, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know about, where you're from, what you like, who what music you listen to, like that sort of thing. And I think that, when you enter the space with that kind of authenticity, with that kind of genuineness, people let down the guard of, being used or trauma or whatever. They're like, you know what? I can relax. And as a result, you have this more genuine connection.
Too many of us are taught to not be boastful, about our successes, but the work you do like encourages us to recognize our value and the rewards that they come with, right? And so talk about that dichotomy. How do you balance that?
Bro, that's such a great question. For me, it is this idea of, we over celebrate this idea of being like humble, and you gotta like, be quiet about everything. You can't, what I'm saying, like, don't get arrogant or what. And I think that there's a fine line, right? There's a fine line between arrogance but also you have to know your worth. And if you're not speaking up for yourself, if you're not letting people know who you are and what you bring to the table, then how will they know? And so I let go of this idea that, I gotta, put my head down and do all of this hard work and never, like, I let go of that. And I encourage other people to let go of that as well. Live in your excellence, shine your light bright. There were a lot of times, Will, where I used to dim my light so somebody else could feel comfortable. And now I'm like, put on your shades if you need to. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that anymore. And you don't have to. And guess what? You can be nice and you can be friendly and you can be great to be around, but you can still know your worth and move like you know what you're worth. You know what I mean? Because I don't think anybody would tell you about me that I am a arrogant person or that I am very boastful or anything like that. What they will tell you is that I understand who I am and I understand what I bring to the table, but I also understand who you are and what you bring to the table. You know what I'm saying? So I encourage people, that they should talk about what they're doing, because you never know. You might say, hey, Trell, I make t-shirts or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You might be doing a side thing and I might be able to put you in a place where you can do more of that, where you can do it on a larger scale. But how would I know if you didn't say anything?
Yeah. So how important is it that we don't compete with each other?
Compete?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think what I'm of the mind is that what's mine, you can't have. Mm-hmm. Right? What's for me is for me. And I think that that mentality came from not operating in this space of lack or scarcity. I think we're taught so often that there's not enough and that life is hard and like all these things, right? But I'm of the mind that we live in an abundant universe. We live in a place where we can think a thing and then it can start to be. And as a Black person, I know that to be true, because look at how we have overcome and risen time and time again, even under the thumb of oppression, right? So as a Black person, that hits different, because not only do I believe that we live in an abundant universe, I have my ancestors to look back and say, look what we've been able to do with everything and everybody that's been trying to hold us back every step of the way. So, I think that it's okay to want to be the best, and it's okay to strive for higher and bigger and better. But I don't think I have to cut you out of anything to get what's for me.
Love it. Love that. I want to talk about like the economics of events, right? And because I used to throw parties and stuff, and I remember learning the lesson that if you're counting on the door to make the money, then you've already got it backwards. Like the door, what you get in ticket sales should be a bonus on top of what you already sold. So can you talk about how the economics of events actually works from your perspective?
Man. Yeah. First of all, I don't even charge people. It's not a cost to come to the Black Excellence Brunch. I'm of the mind that that it is an honor as a brand to be a part of the Black Excellence Brunch, because I feel like, especially, Black people, we give so much to the culture, to these brands, we lend our voices, we lend our skills, we lend our talents, we give our money, we give so much to these brands that they should want to give back and pour into us, right? But with these events, yeah, you're right. It's not about that. And so I had to think strategically about how to get to the level that I wanted to get to. And so I usually start with my budget, right? Like, what are all the things I'd like to do? What are all the components that I'd like for this event to have? And then I think about
before who you can get the money from. You're just writing a list.
I'm thinking about what I want it to look like.
Okay.
Like what I want it to look like. Because I think that that is a part of. I'm a big manifester, and that is a part of manifestation, right? Like you can't start with, okay, well, what will I have? And then I can do what I want to do. You got to start with, what do I want to do? You know what I mean? And think about all the pieces and think as grand and as big as you can think and as cool and as creative as you can think. And then attract the resources, right? So then after I do that, I'm like, I want to do all these things. Okay, what is aligned with that, right? So I'll go back since we talked about Netflix already in the Strong Black League when I first. So I thought about how I wanted this event to look like. I wanted all of these amazing, I wanted to celebrate these young Black people who I thought, were excellent, all the excellent people in my world. And I wanted to celebrate them in this kind of way. I wanted to bring a Sunday dinner to them. What are the components of a Sunday dinner? Here's all the things I want to be. Now, how can I make that excellent? Okay, well, I want to, deck it out with decor, and I want to do this and I want to do that. And then after that, I said, okay, well, what aligns with that? And I thought about Strong Black Lead. I'm like, okay, that aligns. It just launched. I know they've got a marketing budget. From having worked in these spaces, I know they've got a marketing budget. The marketing budget isn't tapped because it just started. You know what I mean? So I'm just thinking about all of those pieces. And then I'm like, okay, well, what happens at brunch? There's drinks, right? So, and I know that also liquor brands have budgets. So let's talk to them about their budget and let's bring all of these pieces together. So it's just for me, it's starting with what do I want it to have? And then who that has money that I can find to align with.
It's one thing to know who you want to partner with for your venture. It's another thing to sell them on the idea when they probably aren't even thinking about you. So getting corporate buy-in to projects you believe may benefit their brand, how exactly is that done? I mean, tactically, what are the steps we should take? Trell Thomas speaks on it.
So usually I put together a deck, a pitch deck, and I cater it to each brand. I don't have to tweak. Sometimes I tweak a page or two. You know what I mean? There are pieces that can go in every deck, but then there are pieces that have to be catered to. And I think about to the point of alignment that I was talking about. Okay, what is that brand looking for? Some brands want as many influencers holding their stuff, posting it, talking about it, or whatever. Some brands, that's what they want. Some brands, want to be. They have like a certain amount of budget that they spend to have an event. Okay, how can this event become one of those events that they have that they've scheduled for, right? And then some brands want to know about impressions. Some brands want to get this many press mentions. So it's just thinking about all of those pieces and knowing the brand, right? Having to do your research. Don't just reach out to a brand because you saw them on a billboard. It's like, okay, does this align with what I'm doing? Strong Black Lead, that align, Netflix. Okay, cool. What are they looking for? They're trying to get more people to talk about their event. Okay, I know that I have the friends and the contacts that, that are in this influential sphere. So I was going to invite them anyway. So now I'll provide them a hashtag and everything they can use, and I'll encourage people to use it. So it's just that's when I get strategic. When I'm researching the brands, when I'm thinking about what they need or what they're looking for. And sometimes it's not always what they say that they need. It is what I look and I say, this is what you need. Sometimes it's telling brands, this is what you need. This is what you're missing. And I think people get afraid to do that as well. But how will a brand know when they're missing the mark? Like if I'm saying I'm providing this cultural event, I'm providing these movers and shakers within the Black community, if I can't provide some advice on how to reach us, how to connect with us, then what is the point? So I'm also telling them, hey, I like what you're doing. Here's a way that I can amplify it.
Yeah. So is it working in tandem, getting the brands on board and getting the people the influencer or whoever they need at the party? Like, how are you strategizing or curating the audience, the attendees, and the partners?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give a more recent example. I partnered with Warner Brothers for Judas and the Black Messiah, which I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an incredible
I've seen it.
film, and I'm not
Very,
getting paid to say that.
yeah, best movie I've seen all year so far.
Yeah, man, so good. Well, with them, and I thought I got to see the film early, so they sent me a screener. I watched the film, and I just thought about the people in my network who would appreciate it. Who it resonated with, who's on their Instagram, on their Twitter, on their Facebook or TikTok, who's talking about things that align with this film. So it's really just thinking about those. And the great thing about this too is me providing this space. The event that I provide gives the brand a chance to activate people as well that they want to talk to. So they might have a list of people that they haven't really known how to approach, but now they can approach them through my vehicle of the Black Excellence Brunch. If that makes any sense.
That makes sense to me.
So it's providing a space for them to reach out to people that they wouldn't have a reason to necessarily before. And they're able to lean in. Fortunately, so many people know about the Black Excellence Brunch, and if they haven't come, they know somebody who's come or who's spoken at it. And so when you mention that, it like people's ears perking, and like, oh, okay, and they don't, and it's also less transactional for the brand because you're giving somebody something that they want versus just asking them for something.
Can you for lack of a better word, sell a person who you want in the audience that you don't know? If you, let's say, this person should be here because Judas and the Black Messiah, your brand on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you need to be at this party, but you don't know them. How do you then get them there?
Yeah, well, I definitely believe that there are 6 degrees of separation, and they're less when you get in places like Los Angeles and New York. It's probably like 3. And so I reach out to people. I reach out to people, or I reach out to someone that I know that I do have a relationship with, that has a relationship with them. And sometimes I tell the brand, like, hey, which is another additive, right? For me to be able to put together a list for the brand and say, this is who you should have there. And I know this because I'm tapped in, because so then they're like, oh, super appreciative that I did that research and that work. And they use their, weight, they throw their weight around a little bit and say, it's different for Will to reach out versus for Netflix to reach out, right?
Yeah.
And so that looks a little bit different, but they don't know that Will is the one that whispered in Netflix's ear.
Got you.
So, and then it's a win-win. And now that's someone who not only is supporting the film, they're also now supporting the Black Excellence Brunch. And so I actually like it sometimes when it's like that.
I was reading an article and you talked about you work on things that convict you. Like if you feel convicted about it, and only when you feel convicted truly about it, that's when you go in. Talk to me about because you did mention earlier, you don't have to take every opportunity. You can walk away. Talk to me about what convicts you and how you recommend other people pursue that conviction versus just taking opportunities for the sake of opportunity.
Man, yes. I definitely only do, I tell people always ask, like, what do you do? And I tell people at this point in my life, I do things that I'm passionate about with people and causes that I'm passionate about and that I care about. And that's the truth. And I feel that's taken, years of learning and unlearning to get to that point, right? But, I'm of the mind that we have one life to live, Will. And we have to live it on our terms. And I realized that there was a lot of my life that I was living on somebody else's terms. So it was I started asking myself a bunch of questions. I have that journalism background, and anybody that's close to me will tell you that I ask a ton of questions, but I started asking myself questions. Are you excited about this? What do you like about this? What don't you like about this? If you weren't doing this, What else would you be doing? Just questions like that were really challenging me to have real conversations with myself. And as a result, I just started to discover and uncover things about what I liked and what I didn't like. And once I really got to the core of who I am, and granted, I'm not like, I haven't arrived totally yet. I'm
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
taxiing, but I will say that I'm a lot closer to me. Like what you're getting on the Zoom is Trell. You know what I'm saying? And I can confidently say that, whereas 5 years ago you were getting a little bit of Trell, a little Trell's mama, some of Trell's best friends in college. You know what I mean? You were getting a piece of that. And I think all those people are still with me, but now I can run them through the filter of myself. And so what I would encourage people to do is have those hard conversations with you. I read this quote today, and it really resonated with me. It's like, you are the only person that you have to spend all of your time with. Why are you not in love with yourself yet?
Wow.
And bro, it really hit me hard, because I'm like, yo, we spend so much time trying, like, disliking things about ourselves, yet we have to spend all of this time with ourselves. We should wake up and be in love. I should every day be like, Trey, I love you so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that for me, that self-discovery has been that. It has been, unlearning, like I said, a lot of things that I was taught or told that I should be and I shouldn't be. Like even the concept that life is hard. How many times have you said that just based on what somebody else has told you? But that's not true. Life does not have to be hard. You know what I mean? And so it was just unlearning a lot of those things. And once you get to that point, where you are comfortable with you, where you're asking yourself the hard questions, where you've taken the time to learn what you like and unlearn what you don't like, then you can be a lot more intentional, and you can work on things that you are passionate about, and that make you come alive. And you're okay walking away from anything that is not aligned with that.
So I imagine it's easy for a lot of people to hear you say, you do things you love with people, or things you love and you're passionate about, right? But they look at their life and if it was that easy, we would all just go do things we love, people that we, are passionate about. But how do you know that people want what it is that you're passionate about? Because you still got to eat.
Yeah. That's a great question. And it is really just, I feel like, and I always get really kind of, in my head when I answer this question, because I understand. So there are practical, logical thinkers, right? Realists, if you will. And then there are optimists, people who just believe that, and I tend to lean way over on the optimist side. So I think sometimes it's hard for realists to understand that. But I think, simply put, it, like, going back to what I was talking about, what's for you is for you. I think life becomes hard for people, or things become difficult when you desire something that is not in line with you, that is not for you, right? When I'm wanting what's for Will, when I'm trying to ride in Will's lane, then yeah, it's hard for me. You know what I mean? Because I don't have all the tools in my toolbox that Will has. So when it's time for you to use a hammer, you can use the hammer. But if I haven't gotten that, or if that's not in my toolbox, then
Or a different kind of hammer. You got a
it.
different kind of hammer than I got. Yeah.
Right. It's hard for me to do it with the wrong hammer, or the wrong wrench, or the wrong screw. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that, and social media makes this, amplifies this, right? People coveting what other people have, people wanting to get to this place. Even when I say I do things I love, with people I love, I'm not telling people, to only do what I do. What I am saying is that when you are aligned with who you are, when you are have done the inner work, when you are moving in your purpose, it'll fit. things will work out. And then you can say, oh, I'm doing things I love with people I love, right? Because it's aligned with you. But that doesn't always look like what's with me, what's for for me or for you. And the last thing I'll say about that is, to your point of people have to eat. Um, I do. I'm. I've done every single kind of anything, right? Like from working at McDonald's to working with President Obama. Like I've done all sorts of things. But what I've taken with me in every single thing that I did, for one, I've always felt something I've always found something that I was passionate about within it. That's one thing. So, at McDonald's, I hated cleaning the ice cream machine, but I love, making people happy and talking to people through the drive-through window. It was something about like getting on that intercom and like hearing people's voices and talking to them and then seeing them when they came around the corner. I loved that. And so I was always like, oh, let me work the drive-through. Let me work the drive-through. Let me work the drive-through. And then it became something that I was excited to do. You know what I mean? So if you are a person who isn't necessarily is of the mind like, well, I have to eat, so I have to work this job. I challenge people to find something within that space, within what they're doing that they love and that they can gravitate toward. And guess what? That'll take you to the next space. There's whenever I got to a point of, feeling good about what I was doing, I often graduated to the next level of my life. And so that is the advice that I would give people. And then once you figure it out, once you get that formula down, once you are moving and you are aligning, then only the things that you love will start coming to you, and you'll be able to work on those. And I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. How have you learned to keep the momentum of an event alive in between cycles? Like, what are the tactics? Like, what do you actually do to build the hype for the next one? 4 months after the event, the last one is over. 5 months.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I so I'll talk about the Black Excellence Brunch in particular, and there are a few things that I was very intentional about. One is I was intentional about not like curating the guest list.
Not
Right?
curating the guest list.
No, curating the guest list.
Okay.
I was about to say not just inviting people, but
Okay.
I'd rather
Okay.
just say curating the guest list. I was very intentional that I wanted to curate the guest list. I wanted to put together this, dream team of people that would attend this event.
Yeah.
And unintentionally, that created kind of an exclusivity. So people are like, wait, where did that come from? How did you get invited to that? You know what I mean? And with that, I also only sent the invites out a week before the event happened. So I was
How does that
intentional
work?
about, like, I sent people, basically, I messaged people the event invite 7 days before. I just messaged everybody and said, hey, I really want you to be here. This is something special for me. I want to celebrate you and honor you here it is. And people are usually pretty responsive to that. And so, and I didn't want people sharing it.
Okay.
Which is the reason why I did it. I didn't want, to send it 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance, and then I have everybody and their brother and sister showing up at the door, because I was doing it especially for specific people. So that's another thing, and that created this air of like mysteriousness around the event. And then the third thing with social media, everything's right now, and I didn't put anything on social media. People only learned about the event after it happened.
Oh, wow.
And those three things with the Black Excellence Brunch in particular really helped it grow, because I had people texting me, calling me, asking other people, like, how can I get that? How do I be a part of that? Like, like, what do I need to do? I had people submit their resume to me to come to the brunch. And really I'm honored, that people want to come. But again, it was just me curating something to uplift people that I felt were Black and excellent, and I'm just being intentional about that space. And I'm very protective of the energy of the space. I want to know who is in there and what kind of energy that they're bringing with them. And so I wanted to really protect that. And so that coupled with the rollout of like seeing all of these beautiful pictures afterward and all these things, that helped really drum up the support for it. And people were waiting for the next one, knowing that they wouldn't find out until 7 days before the event, or they might or might not get.
Yeah. Wow. How important is this moment in time? And I mean, this moment of COVID, this moment of racial uprising, this moment of 2021, how important is this moment in time for Black opportunity, for us to take advantage of the things that we want?
This moment is very important. It is our time, and I don't say that in a cliche way. It is definitely our time. I think all of the pieces of the recipe have come together, right? Like there is spotlight on the Black community. There is all of this opportunity to elevate. You have the ears and the eyes of a lot of people that you didn't have the ears and the eyes of before. And the most valuable thing about this moment is that we have this voice, right? If we've ever felt voiceless, now we have this voice, and you shouldn't, and we should proudly and confidently walk into spaces now. If we've never been able to before, now is the time to walk in with your head held high, with your chest out, and ask for those things that not only you want, but that you deserve. And I think that is what this moment is affording us, and we have to take advantage of it.
Black Tech Green Money is a production of Blavity Afro Tech on the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartMedia. And it's produced by Morgan DeBon and me, Will Lucas, with additional production support by Love Beach and Raven Earboard. Special thank you to Micah Davis and Sakar Savagnan. Like the wine? Yes, that's his real name. Learn more about my guests and other tech disruptors and innovators at afrotech.com. Go get your money. Peace and love.